Hey, I'm on the edge of my seat here, back again with another brand new video. And today, I will be no damaging the entire arcade mode in Guilty Gear Strive. And I'll be playing as the character Bridget, and as you can see here, I have selected specifically the Kiwami Bridget. And I have my complications with Kiwami, but for this one, I'm going to need to be as extreme as I possibly can be because I will be following the extreme route of the arcade mode. Now, you may have noticed that in this first stage, it is on hard, and I believe that the first stage will always be on hard because this arcade mode, it follows like 3 different paths. I'm going to be doing the hardest path of them all, the extreme path. So first you have like the normal path, and I believe you get this path by losing one of the rounds here or just losing this round in general. Then there's like the hard path, which I forgot how you get there. And then there's the extreme path. Now the way you get the extreme path is by never losing a round. So this is a fighting game, so pretty much every time you like fight someone here, it's like a 2-round match. So you can win 1 round, lose another round, and then like, you know, it kind of depends on who wins the 3rd round. You know, that's the person who wins the match. But in order to like stay on the extreme difficulty, and to unlock stage 9, you have to never lose a round. And me, I'm going to be no damaging. And I just thought that no damaging this game would be just flat out impossible because it's a fighting game, especially on extreme difficulty where like the enemies can react super fast to your attacks. But I have found a way to cheese the AI like I'm doing here. And here, let me explain a bit what the cheese is because I'm going to be doing it throughout this entire video. I will be slightly modifying it here or there for specific combatants, because like some of these fighters are insanely annoying and have driven me a little mad. It is a little weird though because like with some of these fighters they're very annoying, but it didn't take me that long to beat. Now for some other fighters they took me a really long time to beat. But for most of these fighters it didn't take too long, but it kind of depends on who I'm fighting. I must admit I am a novice at fighting games. Like I guess I'm somewhat adapted. There's like a lot which I don't understand. For one, I don't know number pad notation, and I'm not 100% sure what all the moves are called. So, okay, but with Bridget here, the reason I want to bring that up is my strategy is kind of as followed. I realize that the AI, even on extreme difficulty, can be cheesed by this. So first, you want to throw out like one of your slash or heavy slash attacks, kind of like the yo-yo with the string on it. Just throw one of those out and make sure that the enemy blocks it. If they don't block it, that's fine. You're just going to have to like follow up really quickly afterwards. And then once they block it, you have to run into them with the move Kickstart My Heart. This is kind of the one where you put the yo-yos on like the feet and go like roller skating towards them. And then you want to break because you have 2 options once you do Kickstart My Heart. You have the break and then you have the shoot. So the break, the reason that's good is because you recover for him faster. If you do the shoot, it deals more damage, but you're kind of left, you know, vulnerable for a longer period of time. Anyways, this switch with the guitar here may be the main antagonist of the entire series. Now, I have caught up somewhat with the lore. I decided to watch Wooly's video on like the lore of Guilty Gear. There are a few things that kind of like elude me, but she has fucked with the timeline so many times in this series, like it's kind of hard to keep count. Like she's messed with time in like a sense where she's made a ton of stuff non-canon, if that makes any sense. So there's my heavy slash, and then I do the break to kind of get up close, and to be fair, I didn't get close enough to do a grab, so I decided to do another heavy slash, but my main tactic is to kind of Kickstart My Heart, break, and then immediately grab them, because like when the opponent like blocks your break attack, if they don't block your break attack, then you're just going to have to wait for them to get up and then kind of restart. But if they don't block your break attack, then you can just kind of like, here kind of messed up. You never want to be in that situation. Now, Ino here, she decided to be not good at the game and didn't immediately attack me when I returned to the ground. But with most other opponents in the next couple stages, that would never fly if you do like the shoot move right there and they block it. They'll just immediately kill you. So yeah, boom, kind of Kickstart My Heart, break, immediately grab them, kind of keep some distance, but not enough distance where your attack wouldn't land, and then hit them. And you do want it to kind of like... you know, you want them to like block the attack, and then when you do this, sometimes they'll block that attack and sometimes they won't block that attack. So if they block your break, grab them, and if you have enough meter, do a Roman cancel, and then you can do a combo like this. And also if you have enough meter, you can do the special move, the loop-de-loop. And well, the loop-de-loop is on. I'm gonna do it a couple more times with the future combatants, but it's not gonna be a move that I do with some of the final combatants, just because those final combatants are so sweaty that like I don't want to like do a more complicated move and make it like even more sweaty of a fight. That's gonna make more sense once you actually see those future opponents. This opponent is still a pain in the ass though, just not as much of a pain in the ass as like some of the last ones. Ugh. Yeah, like this was a strategy which I developed while doing stage 8 because it worked really well there, and it does work really well in these other stages, but not as well, if it makes sense. It's like yes and no. Anyways, this character, Jacko, from what I understand of the lore, there's no reason why she's Halloween themed. Like, she just has a pumpkin mask. She says trick or treat, but she's like an information terminator. There's no reason for her to be Halloween themed, but she just is. Unless there's like a lore reason why she's like this, I'd like to know. Besides, she's just silly. If she's just silly, then that's that. But yeah. So I hope that my explanation of my strategy made sense before, because there's something specific I have to mention about this Jacko fight and stage 4. So I'm going to spoil it. So stage 4 I fight Axel, but Jacko and Axel both do this thing, so I'm going to mention it. So they do this thing where when I do like the Kickstart My Heart move, and then like they block it, and then I try to grab them. In the first round, they'll let me do it, and it'll just work. But then in the second round, they'll suddenly become smart enough to do like a really fast ground move that interrupts me. And to be fair, they don't always do it in the second round, but they could sometimes, for the most part, do it in the second round. They don't do it in the first round, but in the second round, they do it. So here I just kind of have to pray that they don't do it. Okay, so how does it play out right now? So I decided to activate my burst. So that's a mechanic I have here where if I burst at the beginning of a round and like hit the opponent, I'll get like full meter. My meter is like at the bottom left. And what this meter lets me do is it lets me do like these Roman cancel moves. It lets me do this move, and this was a horrible time to do this move. And another reason to use meter is you can do the faultless defense. And I need to do the faultless defense because if I just block the attack normally, I take chip damage. But if I do the faultless defense, which is like pretty much doing a block and then pressing 2 buttons at the same time, I kind of get the blue shield around me. It uses some meter, but the attacks don't damage me. Though, to be fair, that shield doesn't block every single attack. Grabs are still going to damage you. There's some sweeping moves that are still going to hit you, even if you do like the big blue block. So do watch out for that. But it did save my ass against Jacko there because I kind of messed up my special. The only time you want to do that like loop-de-loop special is when you get a hit on the opponent, because if you just do it like as your first move, the opponent can just block it because they see the cutscene and they're like, okay, I just have to press back now. You kind of have to do it either when they're in the middle of an attack, when they're in a vulnerable state, or if you attack them and you're allowed to do a second hit, because when you attack them once and they get hit by it, they are in a vulnerable state, and then you can just do that second move and kind of like annihilate them. So yeah, with Axel here, he's a zoner from what I understand. He can like get you from really far away, so you always want to be spamming him. You never want to like be on the defensive, because once you get on the defensive, he gets you. So like, I forget exactly how I play, but I'm always going to be spamming him as like hard as I possibly can, just never stopping. And that's true of all the opponents, because like, most of the opponents have like some sort of projectile like move that can kind of screw you over, at least like a move that can really get you, messed up. And here that is the Roger dive, if that is the right name. I messed up again, and I kind of saved myself there, but sometimes that won't work, so don't depend on a move like that. But sometimes, you kind of get yourself in a bit of a messy situation, so you're going to have to clutch it, and sometimes you do clutch it, so, just be careful. And yeah, one of the most annoying things which like these boss fights can do is burst themselves. So you have the burst, that can knock an enemy over, but the enemy can do that to you too. And like when they do that, they kind of knock you across the field, and that's just, it's never good. Also, another thing that we should mention here is that Axel is British. So is Bridget, and Bridget has one fucking loop-de-loop of a backstory. So, Bridget was originally, like, in a family that was in London. Wait, not London. Either it was England or London. They're not the same thing, but London is in England. But yeah, she was originally born a boy as a twin brother, but the village she was born in has a superstition against twin brothers, where if a family has like twin brothers, great misfortune will fall upon them. So like, she was raised as a girl from birth, and the parents loved her very much, but they felt guilty about doing this, and Bridget realized that they felt guilty about doing this, so she sought out to become a bounty hunter in order to bring a lot of money and kind of disprove that misfortune. Now, mind you, she was never uncomfortable with being raised as a girl. It was just more that the misfortune and guilt, she felt kind of bad about it, so she wanted to do something to disprove it. So she went for bounty hunting, like a more like manly, masculine thing. And it went well for her to a point where bounties just stopped coming in. So instead, she became an entertainer with the yo-yos, doing yo-yo tricks, like working as at a restaurant, so on and so forth. And then we get to Strive, where she has a somewhat successful business. And here, we're in the fucking laggiest stage of all time. Like, I don't know what it is about Green Forest but they always make, like, the game chug. I am playing on a Steam Deck, though, so I'm not exactly playing on, like, a high caliber... Like, the Steam Deck is pretty high caliber, but I guess not high caliber enough to run this stage remotely well at all. And to be fair, it's only really like that one screen. Like, once we like kind of like wall break into like some of the other parts of the area, it doesn't run nearly as badly. It's just that, like, what is it with Forest and running like shit? Because like No More Heroes, Travis Strikes Again also has an area that kind of looks like this. And on the Switch, it ran fucking awful. Like, what is it about these green leafy assets that are just a misery to run? Like, what the fuck is up with that? But yeah, back to Bridget. So Bridget kind of has like the internal like strife about whether she should consider herself a girl or not. And by talking with the Secretary of Defense of the United States of America and the President of Robot England, if I understand that piece of lore correctly, she learns to accept that she wants to be a girl, so she comes out as a girl in this game, and that's why I've been calling her by she. And this happens in the ending to like the normal route of the arcade mode. And there's a little bit of a weird thing there, so I'm going to explain it once we get to like the ending of this extreme mode route. It's a bit of a weird issue which I wanted to bring up. Also, if I have time, I like to briefly explain my Roman cancel wall break move. So if I grab the enemy and then I do the Roman cancel, you know, the red circle, and they're right next to a wall, my move is pretty much like slash slash heavy slash heavy slash. By the time I do these moves, like the enemy will already be like destroyed on the wall, and then once you hit them again, they'll fly to the next area. But if they're not destroyed on the wall yet, you can follow this up with Kickstart My Heart and then the jump move, and then most of the time that'll land them on the wall to kind of be broken. Oh yeah, let's talk about fucking May La Pequeña here is the bane of my existence. This bitch is too fucking fast. However, before I start talking about that, notice that Bridget is actually kind of nice to May La Pequeña here, while with most of the previous opponents, she was threatening to give them Colombian, like, neckties. Like, what the fuck is wrong with her? Okay, so anyways, back to May. I fucking hate her, so I have to, like, readjust my strategy here. So, like, my previous strat of, like, spamming my heavy slash when she gets up does not work here because her get-up attacks and pokes are faster than mine. So instead, I have to modify my strat to, like, spam, like, the Kickstart My Heart move instead. Here, let me see if I do it here. No, here I'm just kind of doing my little wall combo here. But yeah, no. Instead of, like, spamming the B button here, like, here you can spam, like, the heavy slash B button. You know, I'm playing on the Steam Deck, you know, Xbox controller prompts, whatever letters. Ah! Oh, yeah, so let me get back to talking about this. So, yeah, I have to spam the Kickstart My Heart instead of, like, doing that. See, so, like, when she's on the ground, I spam Kickstart My Heart to kind of either, like, knock her to the ground or, like, make her block the attack, and then I grab her. And most of the time when I grab her, she does, like, allow herself to be grabbed. However, sometimes she tries to grab you back. In fact, it's gonna happen. That fucking move, the fucking dolphin. I'm telling you, like, most of the time she's so fast with her attacks, you know, so, like, when you try to do, like, a B move here, like, she'll just do the dolphin and immediately destroy you. Like, she tried to grab me, but I grabbed her at the exact same time, so our grabs kind of canceled, and I had to, like, recover before she pulled out any bullshit. She's also extremely fast with doing, like, her special moves. She'll, like, summon the big-ass whale and, like, fuck your whole day up. Like, it's awful. May La Pequeña is a fucking criminal. She's a pirate, alright? She doesn't fuck around. It's awful. There was something else I had to mention about May. But yeah, no, like, if you're gonna hit her with, like, the dash move, make sure she either gets hit by it or blocks it. If you, like, do the dash move, but then, like, you know, Kickstart My Heart move, but, like, stop it before it even, like, hits her, like, if it doesn't even make any contact with her, you're fucked. So make sure that it makes some sort of contact, that break move. I hope that makes sense. And also, I'm just gonna mention that for the recording, you know, when I was recording that footage, the recording is an hour, 24 minutes, and 3 seconds long. At 33 minutes and 8 seconds, I start fighting May. I no-damaged May at an hour, 22 minutes, and 50 seconds. It took me 49 minutes and 47 seconds to no-damage May La Pequeña. It was suffering, but technically it's not even the worst thing I've done in the name of no damage, because I have spent like 8 or 9 hours on certain boss fights in certain games, or even like 4 days or a week, depending on how hard it is, and those are way more awful than this. But May was still infuriating though. Like, I had such a headache when fighting her. Like, ugh. Oh yeah, I forgot to explain something about the arcade mode. So for stages 2 through 6, all those opponents are random. So yeah, I did fight them, but if you play the arcade again, those opponents might be entirely different. The only opponents that stay the same is the person you fight in the first stage, the person you fight here, the person you fight in stage 8, and the person you fight in stage 9. Now, the thing to know about the normal route of like stage 8 is that if you're on the normal route, you'll get a buddy to help you take down that opponent because the boss in stage 8 has a lot more health. So, you know, having another person help you out, like, you know, take him out, you know, that's for the normal route. But if you're on the extreme route, the game assumes that you're good enough to deal with an opponent that has more health than you and deals more damage to you, and it just kind of screws you over. So yeah, Gold Lewis here, I'm using like the Y, you know, I'm using like my slash attacks instead of my heavy slash attacks, because I don't know what it is about my heavy slash attacks, they kind of screw me over. I think they're like too slow for like Gold Lewis here. And yeah, Gold Lewis, like, I don't know what it is about him, but he is extremely good at grabbing you. He's like really quick with it, so you have to be quicker. So, you know, I'm like, you know, using my heavy slashes like sparingly, and like one of the worst things that can happen is if you get sent really far away from Gold Lewis, because he has this move where he takes out like a minigun and starts like shooting at you. He can just do it at any time. In fact, he could have done it right then and there, but I guess he decided not to. He decided to be nice with me and like let me win by doing like the dive move. But I want to mention another thing about May La Pequeña. Her theme sounds like a Paramore song. Like, it sounds really similar to Misery Business, but instead of being about like slut shaming, it's about how she loves this guy called Johnny very much. Who's Johnny? That's gonna take too long to explain. Look it up, you know, like do some deep diving on the lore. I highly recommend Wooly's video on like the lore of Guilty Gear. As for Guilty Gear Strive's story, I actually watched all the cutscenes, and see, that's the thing though. So Guilty Gear Strive has these arcade modes, which are like these really mini like vignette stories, like, you know, very mini stories. Not much happens in them, you know, like, and then you have like a story mode that's just a 5-hour like movie. Like, you don't play it, you don't like have any boss fights in it. It's just a 5-hour long movie. And you don't even get any like achievements for watching the entire thing in the game. You're better off just watching it on YouTube at, like, you know, at 4K. If you know, if you have the game on PS4, I'm assuming you can't do 4K. If you have the Steam Deck here, the Steam Deck is stuck at a 720p resolution. Mind you, this video may say it's 1080p, but I just upscaled it in Premiere, and I didn't even do like upscaling to like get more detail. I just did it to like make the screen a little bigger. So it's still 720p footage. Don't be fooled. It's like The Last of Us on PS3. That was not 1080p. It is 1080p on PS4 and on the PS5 remake, but not on the PS3. So yeah. So here, let me talk about Stage 8 Kai here, because he is insane. Okay, so like with Stage 8 Kai, I could spam like the... Wait. I have an outline here, and the outline I just mentioned here. The point I wanted to bring up is for Stage 9 Kai, not for Stage 8 Kai. So here we go. So I spent 3 hours on a plane trying to beat Stage 8 Kai just normally, not no damage, and I failed in those 3 hours. But that like experience, like that suffering definitely helped me, like, you know, get better at no damaging this guy. And it's also like how I even came up with this strategy of no damage for Kai in the first place. So I do owe some help to that 3 hour long like plane ride, because whoo. So yeah, if you want to do the wall... Oh wait, no, wait. Before I mention the wall break, I have to mention the bursting. So when Kai does like a burst move, it's awful because, like, you know, this Stage 8 and Stage 9 Kai, they're like designed to like fuck you up if you make the slightest mistake. So you always have to be on your game. You can never like accidentally do a kick when you have to do the kickstart my heart thing. You have to always be on the level with this guy, because if you're not on the level, he'll just like duck under you, do an attack. He shoots projectiles when you're getting up, so that when you get up, the projectile hits you immediately unless you do like a sort of block or of some sort. So, like, you know, you always have to be on the level with this guy. And when he bursts you, you get shot across the room. So when you get shot across the room, the best thing you want to do there is, like, pretty much hope he shoots a projectile, jump over the projectile, and then pray you can get, like, back into the rhythm of things. Oh, yeah, but there's this one combo that I do sometimes. Let me see if I do the combo here. So it's like slash, slash, heavy slash, heavy slash. No. There's one where I'm not so close to the wall, so I'm actually able to like extend it a bit, and it's important because it's extremely clutch for me, especially in this fight. See, like whenever he like throws me across the room there, it's like, ugh. I think it's here. Boom, here. So slash, slash, heavy slash, kickstart my heart, jump move like the shoot, and then I do like the ducking heavy slash, and that's a 9-hit combo there, and like whenever it pops up, I do it because it's invaluable. I might do it again. Okay, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I did it again. Look at that. And that saved my ass. you know, you have to be on the level here. And by the way, like, that combo is relatively simple compared to some of the stuff the experts are doing. So like, yeah, you can mix in like a damaging combo when you do the red burst, because once you do the red burst, like, the enemy is invulnerable in the air. So, you know, whatever works. Okay, so let me mention the thing about stage 9 Kai. So, like, with stage 8 Kai, I could spam the B button or the Y button at the beginning of the match most of the time. But with stage 9 Kai, he has a counter to that. He just, like, ducks under you, and he's, like, quicker with it. So instead, I had to start the match with, like, my crouching... Wait, when I say the B button, I mean heavy slash. When I say the Y button, I mean the slash attack, okay, right? So... you know, I had to start doing, like, the stage 9 Kai. I had to start the match by doing, like, the crouching slash attack. However, that doesn't always work, though, because sometimes he doesn't move to kind of screw you over. So that's fucked up. However, after a while, I got kind of tired, and I returned to spamming my heavy slash at the beginning of the match. And for some reason, it just worked this time. So, like, I don't know what the fuck is up with that. He can still counter it, but if you, like, spam that button super hard to make sure that you're the first one to do it, it might work most of the time, not all the time. Just be wary of that. Also, I have to mention that, like, when you're playing this game normally, you know, like, the characters all seem somewhat balanced when fighting each other, but in the story mode, there is some grand discrepancies between, like, who's stronger and not, because there's just a few key players who are, like, the strongest people to have ever lived, and Bridget is not one of them. Like, you know, like, the second person we fought, Ino, like, if there was, like, a story mode moment, Ino would fucking rip her in half. Like, you know? Though, to be fair, I think, like, in Accent Core, Bridget kinda fought Ino, but not really. So yeah, I'm just saying, it's kind of like in Mortal Kombat 9, like that one scene where the screaming bitch fucking killed half the cast. The Guilty Gear is kind of like that as well. There's like a few key players who are like insanely strong, and everyone else, like, they're also kind of strong, but they can't really like mess around with the main threats of the world. It's also important to mention that Bridget doesn't do much in the main story. Like, she practically has no relevance to it whatsoever. She's just kind of like in her own little bubble doing like her own little thing, while like the main story does not involve her whatsoever. In fact, like, from like the cutscene stuff we have in Strive, she hasn't been included in any of them. So yeah. Also, I just want to talk about like the ending stuff. So yeah, like, you get a different ending if you do this extreme route, but you don't get the ending where Bridget confirms that she's a girl, which is kind of weird though, because like that's like the biggest revelation to like her changing her character. So you'd assume that they would save that moment for like the hardest path, but the way I'm seeing it, I'm pretty sure that like the director writer wanted everyone to know that, you know, she's a girl now. They didn't want anyone to miss it, so they didn't want to hide it behind this fucking hard-ass shit, which I don't think like 40% of the players could even get to. So, you know, he decided to include it in the easiest route just to make sure that no one misses out on it, and then like all these other endings in like the hard and like extreme route are just kind of like a little bit of extra, like, you know, confirmation that she wants to go on this path, while the normal route is the main declaration. So it's not a bad ending. In fact, the developers have been like on record saying that there are no bad, good, or great endings in Guilty Gear Strive. They're just different endings. So they're all canon in some weird fucked up sense, because like the arcade mode in this game, not much happens in it, and it's kind of vague to like what the hell they're even doing. So it's just kind of like, yeah, they're all canon somehow. They all happened at some point in the timeline, you know. You go fucking solve it. Yeah, I hope me not explaining what's happening right now in this current moment is okay, and that like my footage is self-explanatory enough, because like I don't even know what to say anymore. I will say that the strategies I use in this arcade mode probably won't fly online unless you're like playing on the lower levels, and if like the player isn't good, they'll like get screwed over by your tactics here, my tactics here. Like, these are robots. Like, the reason I'm able to cheese them so effectively is because I am fighting literal like CPUs. So yeah, we've reached the end of the video, and I don't really know what else to add. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'm really glad that I was actually able to like pull off like a Guilty Gear Strive no damage, because I have been wanting to talk Guilty Gear and like include this game somehow, because I'm really close to like 100%ing all the achievements on Steam. I only have like 2 left. I have to do like a instant block. I don't know how that works. I'll do that 100 times, and then I have to like interrupt a Roman cancel with a special move 5 times. Then boom, I have all the achievements of Guilty Gear Strive. Very nice. I'll see you all then.
Game over.